Hello! It's me, Jojo, and boy do I have something fun to talk about today, and that is my experience at Shanghai Disneyland. Oh, I still cannot believe that I even got to go there, let alone go there the summer that it opened. That's right, I was there in 2016 when Shanghai Disney Resort first opened. I mean, I wasn't there when it opened. I was there about 5 months later, but still, I got to experience all of the grand opening fanfare, and the best part, I got to do it all with my mom. So throughout this video, I'm going to share my thoughts on rides, shows, food, experiences, and overall atmosphere of the park. And I'll be sure to sprinkle in some photos along the way. All right, here we go. First things first, some things of note. I was there in November 2016 with my mom. I was a junior in college and I studied abroad in Shanghai, China that whole semester. She traveled to China to spend 3 weeks with me, traveling throughout China. We went to Beijing and Xi'an and Shanghai, and going to Disneyland was our last big hurrah before we left to go back home. Because we were there in November, everything was decorated for Christmas and it was beautiful. They had a giant Christmas tree, just like they do at every Disney park. All of the characters were in Christmas costumes. Okay, we got to experience full-on Disney at Christmas, and that was the first time that I had experienced that as well. So that just kind of added to the overall magic of being at Disney, being there at Christmas time. We stayed at one of the 2 Disney hotels on property. One is the Disneyland, what is it called? It is called the Shanghai Disneyland Hotel. Pretty generic, I could have guessed that. And then the other hotel is Toy Story themed. The whole building is blue on the outside with clouds painted on it, and there's giant Toy Story characters all over the hotel. It's really cool. So outside of the park, there's a huge lake, and actually the main hotel is across from the lake, and you can take a ferry in between them, which we got to do when we went, and we had breakfast there, which I'll get into later. But the Toy Story hotel is right next to the park, so we could just walk in and be there. Similar to, I believe, how Disneyland is set up. I've never been there, but there is an area called Downtown Disney, and that has a ton of shops and restaurants outside of the park that you could just go have a lovely evening at, and you don't even have to go into the park to enjoy. All right, so now getting into the park itself. We spent 2 days at the park, and I felt like that was a perfect amount of time. There are tons of shows and parades and lots of rides, but 2 days for one park I thought was perfect. Overall, this park is so gorgeous. When you walk in, it's just like Disney World or Disneyland. You walk down a main street of shops, and then there it is, a huge castle. And the castle at Shanghai Disney is the biggest castle of all 6 Disney parks. The roofs have different designs on them. It's just so beautiful and massive, and really makes you feel like you're at a Disney park, right? That magic is just there from the beginning. When we walked into the park, Meet Me in St. Louis was playing over the loudspeakers, because that's just a classic American song, and it actually brought tears to my eyes because I hadn't been home at that point in about 4 months. Side note, if you didn't know this, Walt Disney's hometown is Marceline, Missouri, which is about 2.5 hours from where I'm currently sitting. It was about 45 minutes from where I went to college. So, little tidbit for you there. And when we were there, walking around, looking at all these shops, there were these signs, like big oval signs with QR codes on them. And in English and Mandarin, it said, scan this to enter a raffle. But you had to take 3 of the 5 QR codes around the park in order to enter. So my mom and I both pulled up our phones and we took pictures of these QR codes. And I believe the majority of people just win backgrounds to their phones. This is one that my mom got. But I don't know how. I won VIP seats to the parade that afternoon. Actually, the screen popped up and it was all in Mandarin, but it was different than what my mom got, so I was very confused, and I had to go up to a Disney employee who very graciously translated it for me, and she was very excited for me. I guess that is not a common thing, or maybe she didn't interact with a lot of people that won because they can read Mandarin. So later that afternoon, we got to sit VIP at the parade, all thanks to just scanning some QR codes. So if that's still there, definitely do that first thing in the morning, because obviously the prizes will run out the more people participate. Okay, now I want to talk about character meet and greets, which, oh my gosh, my mom and I had so much fun with. Normally, I'm not really into character meet and greets, but because we were at a place where we did not speak the language, we just had so much fun interacting with the people that did speak English, and here's why. when a character was white. So princesses, Captain Jack Sparrow, they spoke English because Disney brings over Americans, or I guess Canadians, or anyone that looks white and speaks English to learn Mandarin and interact with guests. My mom actually reminded me that there's this whole Marvel area and there was a guy that was Captain America that you could go meet and take your picture with. And I walked up to him and I said, "Hi, Steve." And it caught him off guard enough that we just had a good time interacting with him. There was really no one else in line, so we just got to talk to this guy in character as Steve Rogers as Captain America. But on the flip side, if a character had a mask, except for Mickey Mouse, they spoke Mandarin. Minnie, Pluto, Winnie the Pooh. This also included Spider-Man. Most of the time, you're not really experiencing this because Pluto does not talk. Winnie the Pooh does not talk when it's someone in a costume. But Spider-Man talks, right? So he would be speaking to us in Mandarin and we have no idea what he's saying to us. But it was still so much fun because then he would just gesture a pose and we would do the pose and we were laughing the whole time. But the funniest part was that there was this whole Star Wars area. Things like meeting BB-8, and they had props from the movies, and you could sit in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon and have your picture taken. Super cool. They also had an area where you could meet Darth Vader and Kylo Ren, and my mom was absolutely terrified. Okay, so here's a picture of me. I'm having such a good time. I'm just goofing off, which is my MO. They hand you a lightsaber, do the force pose, whatever. And my mom, because these are tall, masked people who are speaking to us in a language we do not understand, she just cowered and like didn't know what to do and was giddy, and that was just so much fun. So I would say even if you're not someone in Disney World or Disneyland that normally goes and meets characters, we had so much fun interacting with them. Not to say that there aren't other Americans or Canadians or British people there, but we are way in the minority of the guests there. Okay, meals. Here's the breakdown of food there. They have a lot of theme park American food, but it's very simplified, like corn dogs and French fries and hamburgers, but the quality is fine. But they also do have a lot of Chinese food, right? We're in China. How crazy is that? There were two meals that were pretty memorable, and those were the ones that we splurged on. So the first of those is that we had breakfast at the Shanghai Disney Hotel, and we got to just have a nice little brunch before we went to the park on day 2. The second meal that was super memorable is when we actually got to eat at the Royal Banquet Hall inside of the castle. I have eaten at Cinderella's Royal Table, and if you've been there, you know that it's just one big room. It's not a lot of people in there at once. You have to go up all these stairs. It was not like that. It was more like the Be Our Guest restaurant where there's separate rooms. So we were just at one section of the restaurant because it was so massive. I think that's one thing of it being the newest Disney park is they really thought through the popularity of certain experiences and built on them so that more people could do that, you know? That kind of sums up the food. Not a lot that's memorable, but you know, it's a theme park. Yeah. Now I want to talk about entertainment. Oh my gosh, the shows at Shanghai Disney blew our minds, okay? The first one I want to mention is that they have a Frozen sing-along, which they have at, I think, most other Disney parks. But this one, again, because we're in China, was all in Mandarin. At one point, we're singing In Summer, which is Olaf's song, and a bunch of beach balls just fall from the ceiling, and then everyone's just basically like at a summer music festival hitting beach balls around in this giant theater.
Theater, look around. Oh!
It was so much fun. Okay, the next show that I want to talk about is the Pirates of the Caribbean Stunt Spectacular. Yes, a stunt a stunt spectacular. This one was just so much fun because you start in this big room and there's a balcony in front of you, and that's where the show starts. Again, everyone's speaking Mandarin, so we have no idea what the plot was. I'm sure you could look it up, but you don't need to know. That's how much fun it is. And then they let us all into the theater and we pick our seats, and the show starts and it's just a bunch of people doing different stunts. So they're like fake fighting and someone zip lines in from the back of the theater to the stage. But then, and I've never ever seen this before, they're fighting on like something like a dock that was higher up or something, and he falls off and there's a wind tunnel and he is basically skydiving on the stage, right? You've seen those indoor wind tunnels? It was one of those, and he was just doing that, and they were like fighting in the air. It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Oh my gosh, please go see that. The third and the final show that I want to talk about is the Tarzan Acrobatics show. I went into this loving the music, knowing it was going to be great, but what I didn't expect was just how beautiful the acrobats would be. The acrobats? So you had, the people playing Jane and Tarzan, just doing basically what you would see at a Chinese acrobatic show, but in the theme of Tarzan. But we loved that show so much that we went and saw it both days that we were there, and I'm so glad we saw it the first day so that we had a chance to see it again. Would recommend all of those shows. As I mentioned earlier, we did get VIP spots for the parade, which was super fun, but it was just like any other Disney parade where there's giant floats and characters. And we really enjoyed the nighttime castle firework display. We had decent seats and we enjoyed it. But again, it's your typical lights on the castle, water fountains going off, fireworks in the air kind of show. Now let's talk about rides. Shanghai Disney has two of my favorite theme park rides that I have ever ridden and will probably ever ride because they are so incredible. The first is the Tron Light Cycle roller coaster. We rode this ride 4 times because it was so much fun. The storyline's all in Mandarin, but it does not matter because you get to ride a roller coaster as if you're riding a light cycle, aka a motorcycle. So when you get onto the ride, you straddle this bike and then a piece comes in behind your back so that you're locked into it and can't fall off. So you're riding this ride as if you're riding a motorbike, similar to the Hagrid's motorbike ride at Universal, but you're actually like riding a bike. You're not in a seat that mimics a bike, right? So this ride has an indoor portion and an outdoor portion. When you're in the inside portion, like there are certain points where the wheels of your tires light up different colors, but you're going against a mirror. So it looks like there's another bike right next to you, but it's really just your own reflection. But the way that it's so cool. And we rode it so many times because in the day, you just get to go in the outdoor portion and you're outside in the sunshine. But at night, the outdoor portion is under this massive canopy and the whole thing lights up. So when you're outside, you're just under these amazing lights and it's so, so cool. The second ride that I want to highlight is the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. So if you've been to Disney World or Disneyland, you know that this ride is kind of boring, right? You're sitting in a boat and you go through different scenescapes and there's a little bit of a drop at one point, but for the most part, it's just a boat ride. This one is not like that. Yes, it is a boat ride, but it is so immersive. Some of the rooms that you're in seem like they're 100 feet tall, and even when you look up, it's not darkness, there's a projection of water, so it makes it look like you are underwater. There are IMAX screens that are entire rooms, so that when your boat is moving, the projection moves with your boat, and so it tricks your mind into thinking that you're moving forwards and backwards, when really you're just moving sideways. And then on top of that, there's a pirate boat fight scene, and you are in between these pirate boats, and they are firing cannon shots, and water is splashing up, and there's smoke. And I know that as I'm saying this, all you're thinking is that, oh my gosh, the Pirates ride is so outdated. It can't be that cool. No. It is so cool. Listen to me. That ride is so cool. All of the other rides are very similar, and your general Disneyland, Disney World ride experiences. You got the teapots and you have Dumbo. And that kind of leads me into 5 general impressions that I got from my time at Shanghai Disney. The first general impression that I got from Shanghai Disney is that there is definitely a cultural shift between Disney World and Disney Shanghai. The Disney World attendees are going after what's new, what's big. New Star Wars ride at Disney World or the new Mickey and Minnie ride at Disney World, right? That is what they're after. Those are the rides with the huge waits. At Disney Shanghai, it was the complete opposite. All of the big rides, the Tron, the Pirates of the Caribbean, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, had the shortest waits, but all of the classic rides had super long waits. And I think that's because of 2 reasons, based on my own opinion. The first reason is that we were there the year that this park opened. This is the first time that people in China can just travel to their own domestic city and ride these rides. They don't have to go to Japan or Hong Kong or Paris or California or Florida to ride Dumbo. All of these rides were brand new to them, right? Not just the main attractions. The second reason I think that the more classic rides were more popular is that you can take selfies on them. You can get some clout from taking a selfie on Dumbo, but you cannot really take a selfie on Tron, even though I did. The second big general impression that I took from going to Shanghai Disney is that the princesses that they feature are different from the princesses that they feature in America. There is a big castle show that happens just like in Disney World, where there's a bunch of characters and dancers and princes and sidekicks, and they're all singing along to the songs from their movies, and everyone's singing along. At Disney World, I think about Cinderella and Jasmine and Sleeping Beauty and Belle. At Shanghai Disney, they featured Mulan, which is kind of like duh, right? Side note about Mulan, by the way, in America, when you see Mulan, she is in that pink and teal and maroon dress, right? She is Princess Mulan. But in China, I only ever saw Mulan as the warrior on her horse. They showed the brave side and the tough side of Mulan as opposed to the dainty princess side. So that was really cool. Another princess that they featured pretty heavily was Merida, and she was also featured on her horse a lot. I did not see a lot of Ariel. I did not really see a lot of Sleeping Beauty. Maybe they were there and they just, it's a seasonal change. I don't know. But it was really cool to see princesses that you don't normally see in a way that you don't normally see them front and center at these shows. The third thing of note is that the Star Wars area was dead. There were a few people walking around, but for the most part, my mom and I were the only ones looking at that area. It was just an interesting juxtaposition to having gone to Disney World recently, and the Star Wars area is what is the most crowded area at Hollywood Studios, right? The only virtual queue in all of Disney World is for a Star Wars ride. So maybe it's grown? I don't know. The fourth thing is that taking photos at Shanghai Disney was so much fun. And when I say taking photos, I mean the PhotoPass Disney employee photographers taking your photos with characters, with the backdrops, with the magic frames, all of that. All of the photographers would have us do these really silly poses, and not only just one or two, a lot of silly poses. It was just really fun to see what the pictures would be. And the fifth and final general impression that I want to leave you with is that I had a very enjoyable experience at Shanghai Disney. I had read a lot of articles that people that had been there earlier in the summer, and they had had negative experiences with the Chinese culture and different people breaking the rules or not understanding that they were at a theme park and there were rules at all. I did not experience really any negativity, maybe because I had already been there for 3 months in China and I wasn't just culture shocked at a theme park, I really enjoyed getting to experience a Disney park and a culture that is not my own, that I got to experience things that they value. I don't know. I just want to say that I didn't think it was a negative thing at all. So if you are planning a trip out to Disney Shanghai, or maybe this inspired you to go out there, definitely leave a comment below. What are you looking forward to? What are you curious about? I'm happy to answer any of those questions. It is a dream of mine to go to all Disney parks, and I'm halfway there. I've been to Disney World and I've been to Disneyland Paris. So if you want me to maybe make a video about that experience, go ahead and leave me a comment below that you'd like to see that. Go ahead and like this video and subscribe. I hope you all are having a lovely day, dreaming of travel and going to fun, magical places. That's all for now. Bye!